Right. Yes. I forgot to update that this is episode 3, not 2. So you're very gonna see me very quickly jump onto Twitch and just edit my own video. Part 3. Let's see. So it's Wednesday. Right. I can update that bit later. Really, big part of the streaming is only to give me videos for YouTube, because they have a lot of more posterity, not posterity. They stay much longer. So yes. Okay. So right. So events have caused me to want to escalate the build of my gun. This gun, the Cyberpunk Militech 9mm. I need to get it done a bit quicker because I'm intending to use it for an event earlier than I was anticipating. So I need to plow through and get it done, and I want to get it done by the end of next month at the latest. That's all the pieces modelled, printed, prepared. Everything has to be engraved. Well, some bits have to be engraved. Then it needs to be moulded and then cast. I'm going to cast all the front of it in metal, and I'm probably going to cast this rear part in metal as well. And then the body is going to be black cast. Basically, I want this to be the most super legit version of this that you can ever contemplate. So yes, on with the build. If you've joined for episode 2, you might remember that I decided to only bother about 1/2 of this muzzle, so I'm not worrying about this side, because then what I'm going to do when I get to the end is just cut it in half and stick it back together. Also, if you were joined at the last one, you'll remember that there was a little issue I was having here where the cutout wasn't quite the angle that I wanted. Oh, see, that's really shiny. So what the hell is it reflecting? Is it like a... what the hell's in there? That is really weird. It's like... what the hell is that? Answers on a postcard, if you can figure what the heck that's reflecting. It looks like a floor in like a warehouse or something. That's dead weird, and it's only doing it on one surface. There's nothing over there. That's so surreal. Maybe it's because I'm using a chrome texture, and the chrome texture puts a background in order to make the lights look reflective. That would make sense, but by the by, I'm just going to switch the material back to something not reflective. There we go. Otherwise it just gets distracting. So there was a issue I had at the end of last episode where this inner circle wasn't quite circular and the transition outwards to this top edge wasn't quite right. So if you go back to my previous video, if you haven't seen it, you can see the cutting of the shape. What I actually then did was just redrew this with an actual round bottom edge. I figured it out off stream, and then just applied it. Ooh, that's going to be handy. I was preparing the center part. So there's a couple of things that happened between the last stream and this one. Namely, I created this piece, which fit into the bottom and had the actual half circle, rather than being a angled cutaway based on the top angle here, and then join the two with a loft, so top to bottom, to create a piece which was that one probably. Yeah, I basically went down to my new sketch, the rounded bottom, and then use that to cut away. There's also this bit here where it transitions from being tapered in to not tapered in. I was done with a couple of lofts, angular lofts. I'm not going to be using that one now, and 15 was the old one, so you can see the difference there. It doesn't have the rounded bottom, it has a, see the difference there, and that's why those changes were made, because it needs to look more like, no, wrong thing, I need Photoshop, needs to look round, as you can see here. So you saw I put in that one circle there. I was just testing the sizes of a few extra parts, which are these two pieces, which I'm going to put in now, and then finish up the rest of this shape, and then put in the bottom of the muzzle. I'm not going to worry too much about this clip. I'm just going to put a, I'm just going to just keep it as a single piece for now. The clip is going to come into play when the whole next bit's done. So basically how I believe that it works is this bar underneath the bottom, this is all part of this outer shell, then these clips you basically push in, and that'll allow you to take the whole muzzle off the front. That would make perfect sense. So that's how I'm going to build it, so they'll be sprung, so they'll actually work. Well, there it is again, slightly larger, but for now I'm just going to bring my muzzle back in so I can finish up working on this. As you saw, I'd already put one sketch in here, and I'm going to actually need two of these. So if I start by editing that sketch, there we go. So that's a 4.5 centimeter circle, millimeter circle. I'm going to shift the other one over here. Question is, how far out is it? Now I would say that this distance at this end is the same distance as this distance at this end. So if I actually cancel that for now, and do a measurement from here to here, that's going to be 2. So that's 1.448. Close enough. So let me just take that out at the end. So let's go for 1.5 there. And then if you remember, the middle distance here was 2.250. So put that in there, 2.250. And then I can just create another 4.5 there. Ta-da! Okay, so they're my two inlays. What I actually want to do with these is they're not cut straight in, they're tapered in. So I'm just going to, as you can probably expect, make them 1 millimeter backwards, hide my muzzle, create new bodies for them both. And are they rounded or squared tapered? I'd say they're squared tapered, maybe with a slight rounding at the bottom. So what I'm going to do for those is chamfer two edges at two distances, and start by keeping them both the same, 1 and 1. See, that's too far in, so 0.4, something like that. Yeah, and then fillet both of these edges here, which is the rounded at corner. 0.4 again. Bring the muzzle back in, and then modify this piece here with this piece here with these two bodies, and cut. And there's my two cutaways. And there. Now this text here says, what does it say? It looks like a serial number, made in NC, which makes sense. Night City. Night City is the land in which the game's based, so that'll come in there at some point. I may well. let's see what fonts we've got in here, because I haven't actually used text in this before, but I know there is a text. Okay, I need to stop that old sketch first, actually. So on here, sketch some text. So let's start with the made in NC. Now these kind of things will be a straight font. Oh, made in NC dot. There's a dot at the end there. NC dot. So first thing I want to do is find an appropriate font. Oh heck. So some apps like Photoshop allow you to just, in fact, that's going to be a better idea. So what I'm going to do is go into here, text, made in NC dot. And what I want to do is figure out what font I want that. Now this is a lot easier in something like Photoshop that automatically changes as you go through like this. So what you can do is just click on American Typewriter and go through until I find something. Oh, Comic Sans, obviously it's got to be Comic Sans, right? Something that feels like the right kind of font. Okay, so something like, oh, Apple symbols. Obviously, you could go and, oh, that looks very good. Euthia. Let's remember that one. You could go and find an exact font, like lots of these kind of stamps use these kind of fonts, because these are the style that you get in stamps typically. So yes, stamp types are generally like they have this like cursive part on them. But I don't believe that this has, which makes sense. It's like it's future punky. I also don't want the font to be too thin, because if the font's too thin, then it's not going to very effectively engrave. I mean, those kind of fonts are really popular for this kind of detail engraving into a prop, but like I say, I don't think that really works. Geneva's pretty good. That could be good because it's a little, oh, so I'll let it go, Jesus. It's got a little bit more weight to it, but I think the kerning is a little thin. Maybe if there's an option to stretch it in Fusion, I'm not sure. Okay, these are also not quite curly enough, but no, I've got to the end of my list, have I? That means. So what was that one I liked at the start? That one. Actually, in hindsight, no, I think they were better. I mean, copper plate's a solid font. I think it would look quite cool. Let's try it in copper plate and see what happens. See how that looks. Then the height. God knows. No bigger than that. far between these are we talking about? Not that far. So it's just south of the centre between these 2 points. There needs to be space for another row above it with a bunch of numbers in. So let's put that there. A few slight alterations. Right. So that's not bad. Okay. And it needs a number now above it. Can I duplicate this and then edit it? It seems so. The gap between the two is actually bigger than the font itself. But only just. Yeah. So I need a series of numbers that mean something to me, or mean something to the game. When is the game due to be released? Is there a date for it yet? Cyberpunk 2077 release date. There we go. Before June 2019. Okay, so there's not really a date for it yet. So I'm just going to put a placeholder in there and say 2077 June of 2019. So there's my serial number. Okay. Now I need to take all of this, extrude it back 0.4. Let's go with 0.4. Boop. So a little engraving. I think it's probably too deep. I think 0.4 is probably too deep. Minus 0.2, which is the minimum that I can do for anything. So it's only 2 layers of thickness, but I think it's more authentic. So showing that from a design perspective, I like the made in NC, but I'm not such a fan of the number. But unfortunately, I didn't design this, so I don't get a say in that. My font might be a little on the thick side. For now, I'm just going to leave them as sketches, because then I can come back to this at some point down the road. Should I say, be so inclined. I've got more important details to be worrying about right now than the most intricate little details on this thing. So I'm going to finish up this panel by adding this bit at the top. I believe some of my other 2, 13, Jesus, they're different. So 2.6. This height here is 2.6. 13, 15. And this has been my go-to size. So 13, extra 13 millimeters back, and 2.6 up. back, 2.6 up. Just start by making this block. And obviously I'm going to have to round in this bit here, but I'll get to that in a second. And I expect that this bit here is thin, and this bit here kind of goes inside this bit slightly, so this like sits over the top of it. That's what I would suspect. So there'll be like a large chunk of this will get cut out. That would make sense. Okay. So based on that 2.6, which I have here, this needs to come down to here, which is 120, and my division ratio here is, I don't have one. So if that's 2.6, 2.6 is 23, so it's just shy of 10, so it's about 12, 11. So it comes down to about the middle of this line, this here, so yeah, 12's fine. Extra 2. There we go. And then out. So this side, I'm not sure if it's just a product of, oh no, there it is. So that's just the way that the light comes off this inside edge. It goes up slightly to 2 different points. One's there, which lines up with about there. So that's actually probably this top line here, when you factor in the cutaway, which is this line here. Oh, that's not straight out. Okay, so actually adjoined to that. I wondered why it didn't take. Actually, I can still use it. Let's move this one. To there, give or take. And then down as if it's going to where? Nowhere that I've got a base point for. Well, I mean, I can always hey, I've just discovered that by holding shift, you get a thing between 2 points. Holy shit, I have not ever realised that's a thing before. There we go. So it's kind of down there somewhere. Main thing I'm going to worry about is, do these 2 corners here, so this point and this point, exist, which they obviously do, because afterwards I can always, jimmy these things about and they will adjust the final model. Actually, I think the one problem I've got here though, why did I draw that line? Oh, no, I didn't have the ruler. It's actually two lines, isn't it? It's one that comes up, and then one, and the second one that goes at a steeper angle. Which is what I had, wasn't it? I just didn't angle it. Okay. Once I've figured out this angle, this bit will kind of fall into place. Which is my most side-on image? Probably actually this one. So if I consider that as baseline, therefore, well, I've got lots of baselines here, haven't I? If that's 90 degrees, shows me my degrees at the top here. So if that's 90 degrees is equal to 120, no, 130 degrees there. So this is it actually straight, which is 90, around here, 100. So it's about 30 degrees twisted. So just to give myself a baseline. .30 degrees is actually 60. I'm doing it this way. Ooh, what there? 60 degrees. So if that's 60 degrees, then I want this line. Not sure what's going on there. Then I want this line to be perpendicular to this line, which means a few small adjustments. I'm not sure what's going on there. Whoa. So there's some kooky geometry going on here. Let's move this one on that plane still. Right. I'd say that's probably pretty good. This thing. .81 divided by 6.8. 12. And that's 12 from that point to the edge. Only in a land of imagination. Okay. So let's bring this in by 2 millimeters. Before I do that, I need to add a curve in this bottom part. Not a big one. And then you join between those. And let's tangent them. Curve. It's just that was too big, too large. Needs to be much smaller than that. So just like a little one. Just tangent this. It's better. Still might be a little on the large side. Yeah, there we go. Then there's going to be a slight curve on a couple of these edges, but I'm going to do that with filleting as opposed to doing it in the sketch. And I expect this bit here actually curves inwards slightly. So there's a curve at the top and top, tiny one here, as there is probably all the way around the edge, and then a slight inward fillet at the top end. So let's build this. And that's the reason we did that bottom bit there, because you can't really do an inverse fillet. So a couple of tiny fillets here. And a couple of slightly larger ones at this end. I think these are the same. Take my word back about that. Inwards curve, I don't think it has actually. So that would be that bit bar the cutaway, and like I said, the cutaway I'm not going to worry about too much right now. I'm going to come back to that, because what I want to get achieved is this bottom section here. Now most of this I have already, so ignoring this side, because you don't need to worry about those because I'm not using them. At the moment my bottom line comes to here, so I need to add more depth at the bottom and then put the curve in. Then there's this curve here, which is going to be the most problematic bit, getting that right. And then the back end should just be a matter of cutting this piece out, and that goes to the middle of that top bit, so I can use that as a basis. It should lock to the middle like that. So let's just make that line a bit longer. Good. So if this is, that is a length of about 80. The same length is about here, adjusting for perspective. 46, 47. How's 40 look? It's 40 too small. 40 is too small. 44. So it's about 60% of this height, which is 9.3. So 60% of that 5.3 times 0.6, 5.6. And then go out until I hit this point, which gives me this point. So obviously I want to bring all this back here and then taper it in afterwards. So it needs to go back as far as this line, which is this line here. See, I figured it would do that. It's actually attached it to the layer below, which I don't want. And start here. Let's do it again. Sometimes this is a real swine. Okay. Oh, it's actually on that layer. It's set back. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? That actually makes complete sense. So I'm going to need to expand some of the back part here out further. So I think the easiest way to do this is actually just measure this distance out and then pull this bit further back. That's all that needs to happen at this point. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go from, stop that. Measure this distance from here to here, 6.5. Nice. Then create a section on this back piece. So that. This bit I can bring back by 6.5. Good. And as we said, I wanted to expand the bottom of this by a number which I have already forgotten. It was the 60%, which was 5.6. I want to do both simultaneously. Makes me think something's wrong, but crack on nevertheless. So here's where I want the curve to come to, and it stops if we look at one of the more front-on pictures that I've got. It's pretty straight. I'm going to check a couple of other references. So what have I got here? So it's curved around this front bit, but that bottom part is flat by the looks of things, and it's got two flat bits going down, which actually makes life a lot easier if that is the case. I mean, that line there is definitely straight, which leads me to believe it's probably not curved. Yeah, they're definitely straight. Oh, that's so much better. Great. And I'd say that's close to a 45-degree cutaway. So let's just try it on this side and see how it looks. Let's leave that whole point for now. chamfer it at, yeah, let's try to, since it's so far, 4 and 4. This thing's going to get cut off anyway at the front because it's going to be curved inwards, so I'm not too worried about this. So I'm going to go up to that line, which we know was 5.6, so I'll go right up to that line. This one, if it was again 5.6, let's just look at it compared to these. If you imagine that was distance there doubled, some images I have. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of that bit and then just do a basic if that is, well, actually I want the full width here, which I know, and that is 370, and that bit there is 138. 138 divided by 370, so it's 37% of the width between these 2 points. And these 2 points are right there, right? Yeah. Make sure I get the right spots. Basically these 2 points here. That's 20 and 37 more, so that times 20. 20 times 0.7. Oop. 20 times 20 times 0.37, 7.4. Okay, just divide that by 2 to get 3.7, obviously. So based on that, middle there, 3.7. That is where my P should end, which is 7.5 in. And there's the answer to my question. How far does it need to go? 7.5. So 1, 2, 3. Going in 7.5. And going up 5.6. Magic. Then I have the cutaways, the through cuts to do, which I'm going to do next. These 3 little buggers, which I believe are 6 millimeters wide and 4 millimeters between them. Did I take any other measurements of those? Hair thinks it's 7. But this one I've been finding is a little bit large. So I'm going to go with 6 and 4 to begin with and just see how they look. So let's just start by getting a few of these down. So 6. And there's 4 between them, so you add the diameter plus the distance between them, which is 4, so 10.4. And then do one more. 10.4. Yep. 6cm ones. And if, assuming that's correct, should be able to roughly match that distribution. I've not accounted for this distance back, which seems about the same distance. Hey Gary, this distance back seems about the same here as here, so that'd be another 4,4. So I'm immediately thinking this is going to be too small, because that's way only at the front of this. Yeah, they are too small. I tried again with the 7s and the 6 between them. So 7 and then 7 and 6. Sorry, 13. And then another 7cm one, millimeter one. 13 and 7. Let's go back to my reference images. So they are definitely further to the front than the back, which is fine. This first one is underneath. Is it directly underneath the hole above it? Yeah, I'd say that's directly underneath that. Would you put it about here? Actually, now that I think about it, I haven't accounted for this cutaway at the front. So once you've had the cutaway here and the one here, I actually think that maybe the last measurements were correct. Rage quit, undo. I hadn't thought about that. So let's go for that. I'm going to do these with prescriptive lines and sizing, so that then if I do decide to up or down scale it, it's easy enough to do. So align that with that. Don't know why I selected that. Shimmy it down. So these basically aren't as high as, they don't cover the entire thing. So if that's, they're kind of like that. The question is, how far from this is this? That's the thing that will make my decision for me about the sizing. This is why having lots of reference images is vital. I think this is probably still my best one, which is actually one I'm using as, oh no, don't open Illustrator. I mean, it's close to that, but not quite underneath it. So let's drop this up to 12. And I think the size here is good, but these bits are too big. So 11 and 11. unfortunately moved it the other way because I didn't lock it, but not too big of a deal. There. That feels good to me. Yeah. So let's make sure I'm side on. Make life a bit easier. A few lines. So when I'm doing a one like this, I'll do a 90-degree there, so I can make sure the intersect is exactly from the end. Just join up these bits. It doesn't need to be particularly neat, they're just cutting out at this point. If I just hide the muzzle, this will make the selection a little bit easier. No, it won't. Just go into some of these. Just bash out these middle ones and then everything should. Be a bit easier to select. There we go. Muzzle back in. Let's just do a symmetrical pull out. Okay. And we ascertained in a previous bit of design that this one here is actually cut out all the way into it. So this part needs to cut further back, but I'm just going to do it on the lower part. I'm going to do it here. So just that bit. There's nothing that tells me exactly where this should stop. I'm going to bring it to that exact edge and add another 3, which will stop it in the middle. I don't know why that feels good, but it feels good. Okay. Remember, I'm only worrying about this left hand side. Once I've done this side, I can flip it over and do the other. So I need this shape cut away and this shape cut away. So it needs to be cut first in basically here to the bottom corner. And here is inwards slightly of here. So there's the bottom corner here, and it's going to get cut at an angle to around here. The difficulty with this is that there's the 2 line sections. It's not a difficulty. Thinking about it. Mm, 2.5 feels right there. Now what does it do with that? It's like inward bit. Okay, it includes that. So I need to make sure I go up. Okay. Then I'm going to want to bring it back to here. So how I'm going to achieve that is to draw this piece here as a square, or at least close enough of a square. Which will be the thing that I want to cut away. Then draw a line. I need to do a measurement. This actually, I know this inward distance here is 7.5 because I've just done it. So I'm going to take this sketch I've just made. Oh, how far have I gone there? 78, 7.5. It should line up exactly with there, which is great. And then create a new body from that. So that's a whole new thing that I can use as a cutting tool. I can take this edge. I can't remember what this distance is. I know that's 7.5. This one is 9. Basically 9. I'm going to chunk for that. 9 that way and 7.5 that way. Yes. Okay. My one concern with this is how this bit here, this cutaway should, the bottom of it should end. So I'm going to just shimmy this over so it's like that. Basically I'm trying to get these 2 points here to basically meet. So pivot a bit closer so I can see it better. Okay. And then cut out. Oh, is that a separate tool? First thing that I need to do then is join those together. And that for good measure. And then cut that piece out using that. Yes, that is a problem because of that. Though I'd say that's fine. I'd say that's what that does. Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. So now I need to cut it vertically down and then at the same angle up here by an amount, which we can probably just figure out. So that's there. I think this is going to be one of those things I'm just going to have to eyeball. I know that this, I believe, comes straight down, which makes, yeah, it makes life a little easier. I'm going to start at this point. And go straight down. And then make a line over here. And I want this line that I've just created to be parallel to this line. which it now is. Okay. Start with that. Use that to cut out that back bit. Okay, I think that's good. Only thing now to do is the half like curves cut out here at the front. The question is how I was going to see it's like downwardly curved, and I was trying to think the best way to do that. Because it must go from a flat edge to a curved edge and then taper from one to the other, which you could do if you used a loft cutout. Would make sense. Do I have any measurements of the front done? No. Great. So this is in line, which makes sense. So the edge of my curved cutout needs to come to actually here. Okay, I didn't think that was straight level with the rest, but it is. So I can just use that point. Naught degrees, please. Thank you. So I want this edge here curved upwards to, hard to say. Nope, that is not what I want, a massive ass circle. What I do want is, I guess just south of this point. It's quite a subtle curve. It's not like massive. It needs to be shallower than that. Okay, so if that's 0.1 and it needs to curve down to, I think this is the edge here. Yeah, that's the edge there. So imagine now there's a cutaway along here. How do I get that shape from basically there? That so stop the existing sketch. Not very straight. I'm going to very interestingly run to the bathroom before I continue on with this. And just while I have a quick think. Okay, what I need to do is I basically need this to be going outwards from here. So if I create a new sketch, I create two new sketches, one on this plane. It's actually going to come from here. I've got to make it. Oh, Jesus, that's. Yeah, it's obviously relocating to this plane. Okay. I can kind of visualize how this is going to work, but another part of me is like, no, that's definitely not going to work. Also, doesn't need to consider that bit, no. So, just while I'm in here, this bit. Doesn't need to come beyond the base. Which both makes it easier and more complex at the same time, I think. So, I need to cut out from here to here, whilst then creating the curve. But you can't cut out. I could do it. I could kind of just do a chamfer on the corner, then that wouldn't allow me to round in both directions. Okay, so this is well, I knew this bit was going to be tricky. I can't just create a plane from here because this is a curved edge. What I really would like to be able to do, and it's not something you can do, is just say, okay, well, join up those two pieces, and use that as a cutting tool. So that would cut across the back here. And use that as a tool to basically then just separate this end piece off. It's how you would naturally think of doing it, but it's not really how it works. I'm a little bit stuck. Oh, hold up. Okay, I've got an idea. Let's just get rid of some of these previous sketches. Yeah, that one I need, that one I need. That one I don't need. So I'm going to put a new sketch here, just to give me the point I want to go to. There. Stop that. And then this back, I want to draw on here. The point where this intersect. Okay, so there's a, well, it's supposed to be, I don't know why that didn't overlap. I want to just have this piece. Why am I not fucking just pick that one piece up? Are they on the same? These don't look like they're intersecting. See, that's way off. Why? They definitely join. Operation cancelled. Thanks for the in-depth information there. Why would I just let me draw a fucking square? Right, okay. Undo a bunch of times. Take two measurements. Here to here. It's 5.6. Actually, I knew that one. And the second one. 5.6. 8.786. 8.786. So we'll start here. Go out 8.786, and then we'll go up the other one 5.6. Right. There, right. That is piece A. And I'm really hoping that those two parts consider themselves intersected. Because if not, this is going to be a pain. And then do the same on this edge. So take the measurement here. Fuck's sake. 4.585. 4.585. 4.585. 4.585 and 8.817. 4.485. Oh, no. Oh, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Okay, actually, it's not that big of a problem. What I need to do is just make sure 4.485 and 8.817 I just need to give me a break right now. Bloody fusion. See, it's drawing things in kooky places right now. Okay, that's fine. I've got a feeling that was my own doing that. Okay, there's two pieces which are fine. Then what I need to do is stop that and adjust this. Go on. Okay, right. 4.585. So now I believe they're both joined. If this is going to, be amazed if this works, to be honest. Okay, so there's two shapes. I'm going to try to create a loft between them, which will go in a straight line. Then add this as a rail. Oh my god, it kind of works. I'm not too bothered about leftover bits because I can probably just trim them off. But the problem is, it works, but I've totally and utterly fucked up what I'm doing. Because I don't want to do it straight, I want to do it to this corner. Okay, but in principle, I could just add a couple of lines in here. So from there to there. And the same on this one. From that corner to that corner. Not sure if this is motivating to get into 3D modeling or is totally put anybody off doing it ever. Let's just do that and see what it looks like. Oh, that actually looks good. I'm actually pretty reasonably happy with that. So this I can just get rid of. Alright, no, get rid, stop. Oh, seems a bit straight there. That's a weird line at the bottom. Move all the sketches because the sketches are just getting in the way. That goes to a curve there because this is curved going to a non-straight section. Okay. Well, if I just try getting rid of these bits to start with, maybe that'll flatten up this piece. Okay, so I'm close, but something's not quite there. When I'm getting it to follow this line, it's also following another line I noticed. I don't know if I can figure out which one that is and remove it. So that I don't need, this I don't need, these I don't need. That's really where I want it. Oh, hold up, I should be able to get it to follow that line as well. Because these lines here will join across the bottom. And I should be able to use more than one rail. A rail is basically a thing, so if you're joining a loft from here to here, usually it'll take a line of best fit, but if you've got rails, it'll basically say make the edge follow that line. So this other one at the back is doing the same. If I add, yeah, that one, you see it doesn't touch both sides. And it's not going to allow me to do that because they're two different pieces. I think that's roughly the solution now, is to figure out how to get it to follow this base edge here. And I believe the answer to doing that is going to be figuring out the distance here for the single plane and adding the bottom bit in. Yeah, because then I can do it all in one direction. Jesus Christ, this is a monster. I knew this one little bit was going to cause me issues. So what I'm going to do now is take that line and just extend it. So I'm just going to remove that there. This is going to be my line that hits both ends. I'm not going to be using this piece here anyway, so I'm just going to kill it, because I'm only using half. Then, if I start editing this, it's unkilled it. Rekill it. Doesn't matter. Can you stop just undoing my work, please? Oh, it's because I'm editing that. So yeah, okay. Stop sketch. This needs just, okay, I don't need to worry about it too much because all I need is a vertical line down from this base point. until it hits the line below. It should be automatically there. And then I can join those, which should give me a if I get rid of this, should give me a single piece. There. Okay. And then if I stop that sketch, I should be able to trim this one down. Doesn't want to work that simply, it seems. So now let's get rid of that sketch entirely. So these are all now in the right place. So I can create a brand new sketch. The other one should still exist. Oh, you fucker. Stop sketch. See, it's trying to create one in one that's already existed, 43. So all the ones after that don't exist. But I should be able to use it on one parallel to it, and it'll create it new. Yes, but with the thing still existing. There we go, there to there. Right, okay. So chances might work. Get rid of anything that's not necessary around it. So I'm connecting this point to this point. Creating a lock between them that is going to follow this line, and hopefully this new line like that. That's weird. That's a weird bit of shape right there. Let me look at that again. Okay, it's because it's cut from here to here. Get rid of that. So it's a three-sided shape onto a four-sided shape, which is where part of my problem is. Because it doesn't like that. Let's have my rails in, and then the other rail is here. So I'm not worried about this overhang bit, because I can just delete that afterwards. What I am worried about is, let's put it back. See how it's cutting in there? Because this point is cutting to this point. That doesn't need to happen. This point is put to this point. Maybe. No, that's still going to give me. I'm not sure of this. What's in this? So this is the little fucker. The problem is once you start dicking with the rails like this, you can easily lose track of where the hell you've been building things. Like, what's this now? What's going to where? Where's this thing joined up to? That's joined to there. And this corner doesn't exist anymore. I've got too many rails. Let's just undo, cancel the fuck out of that, and let's try again. So what I want to happen really needs to finish at this point here, which is another consideration. So that needs a straight line from there to this bottom corner. That needs to be straight edge. Then that edge to that edge, and then curve at this end. Okay. So create this loft. Rail 1. To just swap where the hell I'm looking. So this goes to here as I wanted. Why are both those going there? I wonder if I can just pull this one in. No. I thought this one I might be able to bring into this point here. Okay, let's cut that and see how that looks. Still a little weird at this point, because I'm cutting from hold the phone. I want them to both be on the bottom edge. Not the top edge. That's the problem. Both need to come out to here, not to here. This bit doesn't matter. Great. Alright, loft, rail, and they both need to come down to the bottom edge. Still not sure if that's going to be right, because I can see here there's that remainder still. Just going to cut it and see what I've got. Why were you not got me delete show? There. See, it's this imaginary line here. This is the bit that's foxing me. That's cutting in when that shouldn't be cutting in. And if I look at it from this perspective, if I put my sketches back on it, okay, that one's there, that one's there. This one is here. So it's cutting to here. Maybe then, if I actually change this diagram entirely, remove these parts, on this one, just have this corner to corner. which then, that seems to make sense, because there'll be a 3-point to a 3-point, which the application will like doing a bit more as well. If I do that with the rails, which I believe I've hidden. Damn it. Stop. Cancel. I just need to basically undo a bunch of things. Undo all this so it got my cutaways back. There we go. And then update this. So there's one loft, there's one rail. Where's the other rail? Where is the other rail? Have I accidentally? Oh no. Oh yeah, it didn't exist at the point. Okay. Right, so join these two parts on that rail and that rail. Bing bang bosh, that's the one. Yes. That's the puppy. Perfect. Now, other than the engraving, which will need to be flipped. Oh no, I've got these two little things as well that I haven't put in, which is just on the lower front part here. It's the same size as that, so it's a radius of 1.75. Let's just put these in. What's this bit? 0.75. So it's just 1.75 will be like 3.5. Yeah, it's the same size. So in the middle, just below there. So if I remember how I made these is, oh, not like that. Rushing, new body, remove the muzzle, fill it up by 1, put the muzzle back in, delete one from the other. Okay, there's that. So any of the small details that I've missed. The clip, which is going in later. The text, which is actually 3 lines of text on this side by the looks of things. I need to dig into that, what that text is a bit more. Cutaway through the middle is fine. This is all done. This is all done. What the hell is this? Ooh, there's a big thing here that I've negated to see. Oh no. It's just the logo. So it's printed, so it's not anything to worry about. Otherwise, that is this done. So what I'm going to do is take the muzzle. I'm going to chop it in half. In order to do that, I'm going to take just make sure it's the whole muzzle bit first. There's no bits, no. So modify and split the body. Split this body straight down the middle here. Which will give me 2 halves. Decide which is the one I want, and this is the one I don't. Delete that. That was weird. Muzzle 1. Modify. Split the body. This body. Split in half. This way. It's 1, 1. Remove. There we go. And then create a mirror of muzzle. Use that as a plane. And then combine the two halves back together. Right, and that is the muzzle for this, pretty much done. There's the 2 clips that need sorting. When I get further in, I'm going to have to take this in a bit. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go yet, so I'm waiting to figure that bit out. I have a feeling it's going to kind of be a bit like this, where you just have a bunch of this section. Or you just have a bit of that section knocked out, and then that'll give the whole thing something to clip onto. Then when you've got the 2 clips in here, so the clip cutouts I've got to do for the muzzle, but that's it really. These 2 parts. The rest is sort of done now, I believe. So I'm going to stop for now. It's 8 o'clock and I've got to eat because I haven't done that yet. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm probably going to come back to this later on because, like I said, I've got to step up how quickly I get this finished now for a few reasons, which I'll get into at a later date. But yeah, thanks very much if you tuned in, and yeah, I'll be back on doing more of this later. Right, cool. AV out.